Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Charette. I'm a licensed psychologist. My office is in Boca Raton, but right now, due to the current situation worldwide, I'm meeting with patients through telehealth, and I wanted to bring together some really wonderful voices in our community to talk about ways that growing and resilience and strength can come from an experience like this. Before we get started, I just wanted each participant on the call today to talk a little bit about themselves and introduce themselves a bit more so you can get to know them. And then I will ask each of them some questions, questions related to growing, related to resilience, and also related to humor, because humor is a great strategy for coping as well. The first person I just want to start with is Dr. Lewis. Dr. Lewis, tell us a little bit about yourself. Thanks for being here.
Yes, good morning or good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Dr. Lewis. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. I own a private practice in Hollandale Beach. It's a group private practice, so we have virtual therapists across the state of Florida and a couple other states as well. I mainly specialize in assessments for children that are having difficulty in school, so helping to figure out whether they meet criteria for a learning disorder or ADHD, and really getting them the help and recommendations needed for them. I also do gifted testing along the lines of getting kids placed where they need to be in class. Other than that, I specialize in therapy for adults, mainly adults that are experiencing anxiety and depression, and just really giving them solutions very tailored to their life.
Excellent. Thanks, Dr. Lewis. So glad you are here with us today. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Karen.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for putting this together, Dr. Casey. I am Karen from Family Time. We have classes for parents and children at B'nai Torah congregation in Boca Raton. I have a podcast called See Me, Hear Me, Love Me, which we will be bringing back with some great remote guests very, very soon. And we just have enormous resources of parenting support, and helping children grow in their emotional intelligence and managing all the crazy feelings, learning how to think and feel through each stage of development. Our principles of early childhood are children exactly where they are, create that scaffold to help them move forward to where you want to lead them and they want to go themselves. So I've been in early childhood for decades and I wouldn't have it any other way. So great to be here.
Thank you, Karen. Thanks for being part of this. And Rachel, tell us a little bit about yourself as well.
I am Rachel Sobel, and I am a writer, author, and speaker, mostly focused on parenting. I am an expert in the tween to toddler bridge, because that's where I sit right now. So I am parenting a very big age gap between two little girls who are turning me gray every day of my life. So it's amazing and exhausting and the best job ever. And I really just set out on my journey in writing to connect with other mothers who were not necessarily talking about the messy stuff. Parenthood content used to be very sugar-coated and very, very siloed in the things that we talked about. And I just felt very uncomfortable with that because motherhood is messy and it's chaotic. And I felt like as a mother myself, I bonded with other women over those imperfections. And so that's really where a lot of my writing focuses, in letting moms know it's okay to feel those things and it's even okay to laugh at those things. And you said before, we need to use humor. And I believe in that wholeheartedly. That is my coping mechanism with a lot of life's things that are thrown at me. I contribute to Pop Sugar and Mommy Nearest and a couple of other parenting-based publications. And I actually go live every Monday night right here from my closet where I hide from my children at 8:30 to bond with mothers over a lot of things that we talk about on a regular basis, but right from the privacy of my own closet.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you. And actually, Rachel, I think what would be great just at the outset of this is I want to start with you, because humor can be such a valuable way for everybody's guard to come down and just as an icebreaker. So let me start with you, because I have a feeling you will bring that into what you share. No pressure. And I want to start with this question first. That question is, and I'm going to go around and ask everybody, but starting with you, Rachel, what is one recommendation or tool that you can share with moms to help them increase resiliency during this pandemic? And I know it's a big question, so whatever your take on each of you of it is, I welcome.
I think, speaking from personal experience, the thing that has saved my sanity during all the craziness going on in the world right now is a group text, a group text with non-crazy mothers, because you have to surround yourself with people. Everyone has different personalities. And I have found that I have friends even who I adore and love and trust implicitly, but everybody handles crisis a little bit different. And so once everything began, I realized that I was in a couple of group messaging texts that were making me insane with the constant news updates and the numbers of coronavirus and everything happening. And I had to, for my own mental health, remove myself from those situations and focus on the groups that I felt like really provided a safe space to commiserate, but not with those constant dings every second of doom and gloom. And I think it's really hard sometimes to step away from friends because you feel like you're being petty. But I think, and I know it's not a tool per se, I think that constant communication with people who are like-minded with you in this specific scenario that don't make you want to drink your breakfast every morning is probably the best thing you can do. And I would say also to stay off of Facebook. I would say Facebook right now is, at least for me, is becoming like a cesspool of debate. And I find myself, I am super confrontational when I believe, I don't know what just happened. I am super confrontational when I believe passionately in something. And so I noticed that when I would scroll through my social media on a regular day, like any other day, and I would see all these varying opinions and passionate displays of what we should and shouldn't be doing, it was making my heart race and making me want to throat punch somebody. So I feel like you have to pick and choose who you surround yourself with as the best tool of support right now. That is my personal opinion of what is working for me.
Absolutely. So valuable. What about you, Dr. Lewis? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, one, I really liked what you were saying, because limiting Facebook has been a huge thing for me right now too, because there is a lot out there that can just really mess with your whole day. But one thing that I would recommend is based in a theory of psychology called acceptance and commitment therapy. So it's a form of therapy where you really focus on what your values are and aligning your life with those values in order to really feel like your best self and really feel resilience in these moments that are very challenging for us. So for example, if you know that one of your primary values is family time, right now when we're in this pandemic, I've heard so many people saying every day just feels the same. Every day we do the same things. But if one of your values is family time, then maybe making it a point every week to have a structured family activity that you all are doing together. This way, you're able to be in that activity, fully feel all of the positive reinforcers from that activity, feeling like you're bonding with your kids, feeling that their kids are maybe learning different things based off of what the activity is that you're doing, and that you all are just having a very great time. And this would help to then come out of this transition feeling a little bit more relaxed and renewed and refreshed rather than completely exhausted and drained. So really analyzing whatever it is that your values are, maybe writing those down and seeing how you can incorporate at least one value into your daily life. So it could be something spiritual related. We just talked about humor. So maybe making sure that you're watching a comedy show every day. That can feel really great. Just picking whatever it is, something small every day that you can do that align with feeling good in your life rather than just feeling so overwhelmed by everything going on right now.
Just a quick follow-up question, Dr. Lewis. If a patient or somebody watching this was interested in finding a provider who does that type of therapy, how would you guide them to locate someone who could help them in that with those tools?
Yeah, so oftentimes on a therapist's website, they will have listed the ways in which they work. Sometimes they'll say specifically, I come from a CBT background, or I come from a psychodynamic background, but others will just write out the way in which they work with clients. So I know, for example, on my website, I don't think I really mention CBT, even though that's my background, cognitive behavioral therapy. But I mention things about finding solutions and changing the ways in which you're behaving or changing the ways in which you're thinking in order to help you feel better. So if that's something that resonates with you, then it may be worth it to go ahead and have that consultation with that therapist and ask them more questions about how they work.
That makes sense. Thank you. Karen, love to hear your thoughts.
Well, I agree, of course, with those wonderful ideas and suggestions. And what I would add as the early childhood person, and it's been our family time tagline, is celebrate the messiness of life with kids. For COVID, everything to me is exponentially the parenting challenges of uncertainty, doubt, guilt, all of that, but intensely more. So instead of celebrate, let me just say embrace. Embrace that messiness, because your children and your grown-ups around you are going to show emotions and behaviors that they're not always, that aren't neat and tidy. They're going to be contradictory. They're going to be the roller coaster. They're going to be just things that throw us all off course and wonder if we're off the rails. So in my program, for example, when we do our transition class, which is our first emotional moment with our children, how to say those first goodbyes, how to trust that moms and dads will be back, how to trust that you can ask for help. That is, all emotions are safe here. And with young children, we're trying to figure out how to think and feel at the same time. How do I manage? How do I self-regulate? How do we as grown-ups co-regulate with parents? That whole idea of we are here to guide, coach, and teach our children that discomfort and uncertainty and ambiguity and fear and confusion are part of our journeys, whether they are small or whether they are global like this one. But now, how do you do that? What I want to say as the early childhood person is play. Play, because play, that idea of being present in the moment, multi-sensory, silly, goofy, or allowing your child to explore, or you to explore, to take off the rules and conventions of the shoulds and supposed tos, and give yourself that little bit of freedom to be innocent, to be naive, to be optimistic when it's irrational to be optimistic, or just to be irrational and experimental with where I fit in this big equation. So play, play, play every day. And that's how I've been signing off, I think, a lot of my emails lately is stay safe and keep playing, because I think that's where children definitely work through questions, ideas, and struggles. And as grown-ups, I think we can be really great partners and learn with them to do that.
Karen, what would you say to a parent that says, like, and this might seem like an odd question, but like, I don't know how to play. Like, what do you mean play? How do I do that? It doesn't come naturally.
I know. It takes skill. It takes practice. And so the baby steps to that is make a play jar. Make a jar of 5, those old boredom jars that are online. Take a jar that says, don't know what to do. And you feel this, I think, during COVID, is like, oh my gosh, like I thought I was going to watch 1,000 movies. I thought I was going to get caught up on my books. I thought I was going to take up knitting. I thought I would, all those things that we thought were going to add quality to our lives. So make a list with your child of 5-minute activities, bubbles, dance time, goofy charades. Just sit and brainstorm 1,000 things, and then you can either use that jar to pull from and say, we have to do this, whether it's, like I said to somebody yesterday, I really wanted to learn how to do cartwheels during COVID quarantine, but maybe I'm past the stage where I can actually do that. But I think, just challenge yourself to stretch, because I think it gets those brain chemicals going in a more positive way than that heavy stuff that's pulling us down and weighing on us every day.
Yeah.
Baby steps.
Baby steps. Okay. In therapy, I often encourage patients to come up with like a self-statement, or some people would call this like a mantra. a quote, Rachel, I think of you like maybe even a meme, right? Something that really in a moment can remind you of a positive coping strategy, could make you laugh. It can be a quote, it could be anything along those lines. So I wanted to ask each of you to tell me what one of your favorite and mom quotes are, or a mantra that could be helpful to uplift your spirits during this difficult time. And again, it can, I say a mom quote, but it can be a quote that would be by or for anybody. And so let me start with you, Dr. Lewis. What would be a quote or a statement or a mantra that you think is really powerful to help during these times?
Yeah, so very short and simple. The quote is, "This is temporary." And the reason why I really like that quote is because I find that everything in life is temporary. There's really very little that's permanent. Everything is growing or changing in some type of way, and certain things end at a certain point. But that reminder that things are temporary is so helpful when we're feeling so overwhelmed, because sometimes when we're overwhelmed, it feels like things are lasting forever. And I understand right now might feel like things are lasting forever because it's probably going on. This pandemic is going on a lot longer than I think a lot of us were anticipating. But unless you truly believe that this is the way that the world is going to end, then you do believe that this is temporary. We may not know how long it's going to last, how long we're going to continue to experience the challenges of this pandemic. And at the same time, this is temporary, the same way that you've made it through so many other things in your life. And maybe those things felt like the worst thing ever and were so distressing to you. You're out here now on the other side. So at some point, this is going to be one of those things as well. So this is temporary.
That's very powerful. This is temporary. Okay. How about for you, Karen? Let's go back to you. What is a quote that inspires in this,
The one that I've been sharing a lot recently with parents is a Magda Gerber quote that says, "All we ever really teach is ourselves." And what I love about that is I think so many people feel so guilty for the experiences their children aren't having. Oh, my child doesn't have this chance to socialize. Oh, my child can't do this. My child can't do this. And so that pressure to be everything, do everything, fill those holes, fill that vacuum, puts so much pressure on parents. And so it also has parents striving at a level that's impossible. But if you just think, all I really teach is myself, and I have to take care of myself so that I can be here for my child and with my child and not be bringing all of this additional anxiety. I mean, of course, you want to be able to have that wonderful support group of friends that can help you lose it. But for your children, all you teach is yourself, and that knowing that yourself is more than enough. And so that your children are so going to come through this okay, because parents are enough, because they are this perfect person to be with their children through this.
Will you say the quote once more, Karen?
All we really teach is ourselves.
Okay, that's beautiful.
So we're teaching ourselves and taking care of ourselves and giving us. If you just give yourself to your child, you don't have to look over your shoulder at what you're missing, because you is all they need.
That's nice. I like that. Thank you. Rachel, I'm like excited for yours.
I mean, it's a lot of pressure. So, you've mentioned humor before, and in my world, in the world of content creators, and as we call ourselves mom memers or whatever moniker we, as much as we love sharing and humor and these little snippets of memes that become shareable and go viral, and it is a form of therapy for all of us, the amount of scrutiny that we face from the people who then come at us and say, well, you complain about having children, you complain about being a mother, why'd you even bother having kids? I mean, there's so much judgment. And so years ago, I wrote an article and I pulled a line from it that I turned into a meme just thinking I liked it, and it ended up going viral multiple times, and it's probably my most shared meme. Wow. And it's not a humorous one, but it goes, guys, it really cheesy that I'm sharing my own quote. I'm just thinking about it.
Please do.
So, but it is one of the most shared ones, but it goes, moms complain, we commiserate, but never ever mistake that bitching for not being grateful, because we are grateful. We are super tired, hanging by a thread, but grateful. And to me, it was such like a simple everyday how I live. And I kind of was surprised how shareable it became. And I think that's when I realized that we, especially as mothers, hold it together so much for our kids. We do. We hold it together through really tough times. We don't want them to see us sweat. And I think that even though I've always felt this way, what the pandemic has shown me with my kids is that it's okay for them to see me sweat. It's totally normal for them to see me cry, to be stressed out. I mean, to a limit. I don't want them to be walking around like balls of anxiety because of me. But I also try and toe that line between sheltering them and keeping them in that little bubble, because I don't want them to know the craziness that goes on a regular basis, but also having a very realistic view of what is going on so they can deal with it and they don't walk into this world when they're old enough and be like, oh, my mother didn't prepare me for this. She just, told me to make sure that I was wearing clean underwear and whatever. So I think that the biggest lesson in that quote in itself is that it's okay for us to commiserate about how hard this is, because motherhood during not a pandemic feels impossible. So now when we're dealing with this uncharted territory and you have all these opinions of what you should and shouldn't be doing, if you don't have a strong sense of self as a mother, which I don't think I had until I hit 40, to be perfectly honest, and had a baby 2 weeks before I turned 40, I think that it's really easy to get in your head and feel that guilt that Karen's talking about. And so part of it is recognizing that it's okay to feel all those feelings, but to laugh and find levity in the ridiculousness. I mean, my toddler's walking around with a quarter, calling it a locker, and locking every bedroom door now and locking us all out of our rooms. And normally in this, I'd be like screaming at her, being like, what are you doing? And now I'm just like, all right, I'm locked out of my room. Okay. Yep. You want to have cupcakes for breakfast? Yep. You want to swim instead of taking a bath? Yep. I say yes to everything. There's no rules anymore. It has changed the way that I parent in such a significant way. And I think we all feel it. I think a lot of mothers are going through that right now. And I think it's okay.
Yeah. This brings me to another question, Rachel, and I'd love to just continue with you. And maybe you spoke about this personally as well, and maybe you can answer personally and professionally. But how can moms cope with the feelings of shame and guilt related to parenting struggles during this pandemic? You spoke a little bit about feelings of shame and guilt that your audience puts on you even in a non-pandemic world. How can moms cope with that during this time?
It's such a good question. I don't even know if there's a right or wrong answer. And I think that first we have to realize that mom guilt, which sucks, it comes in two ways. It's self-imposed. We put so much of it on ourselves and pressure on ourselves to do things the way we envision that they should be done. And then it comes from external sources, whether it's mothers-in-law, friends doing things a certain way. And I think that, we have to remember that nobody is an expert in our children except for us. There are tons of parenting experts. There are tons of people who have written incredible books and articles and all these things about parenting. But at the end of the day, nobody knows your children like you do. And I think that we have to be honest with ourselves and be honest with our kids and let them know that if you're scared, it's okay to be scared. If you're worried, it's okay to be worried. But I liked what before what was said about being temporary. We have to keep telling them it's temporary. I have so much guilt over my little one who was thriving in preschool, getting ready to start her second year, went through Karen's program and it changed her as a kid. And now she's stuck at home with me constantly, which she loves. And I'm not going to say I don't love it, but I'm exhausted. And I look at my kids and I'm like, they are missing out on so much. And then I have to keep reminding myself, even though they obviously know there's a void with school and camp and all these things, it's harder on us. We know more because we have more life experiences. There's so little that to them, as sad as it seems, this is going to be such a normal part of their lives. One day they're going to look back and be like, yeah, I went through a pandemic and stayed home and stayed on my phone till 10 o'clock at night. And my mom thinks I don't know that I snuck Hershey bars in my room. I mean, to them, this is I feel like it's going to be a little blip on the radar, as silly as that sounds. I think we feel it more. And I think, the long answer to your question is that we have to let them see us work through this and how we handle it and come out the other side smiling. I've become a lot less, even though I'm very stressed right now with everything happening, I feel like my parenting has gotten much more lax. And I was pretty lax to begin with, but I mean, we have no bedtimes here. We have no, because I keep saying to myself, I'm enforcing these rules. And Karen, you said it before about rules before. I'm enforcing all these rules that right now don't really feel important. My kids don't have school. They're finding their own ways, their own voices, their own styles of coping with everything going on, new ways of seeing friends virtually, all that stuff. And I'm trying to take my type A personality and fly by the seat of my pants a little bit more and find that balance. And I think that the mom guilt part, if you allow it to creep in and make you feel like what you're doing is wrong, it is paralyzing. And so again, it goes back to my original point of surrounding yourself with people who do not make you feel that way. If you are talking to other moms who are constantly judging you for how your kids are sleeping, what they're eating, what they're doing, you need to cut them out of your lives. Maybe not permanently, but you need to just take a step back, because that is so bad for your own mojo as a mother. And it doesn't mean you have to surround yourself with people who share the same perspectives, because we all need to learn from each other. But if anyone makes you feel this big instead of lifting you up, you need to take a break. That is my motherhood rule with mom friends that I make. If they make me feel crappy about the choices I'm making, I can't allow that in my life. And it took me a really long time to be comfortable doing that without feeling like I was doing something wrong. But I think as mothers, we have to surround ourselves with people who show unconditional support and get us even in our lowest moments, because that's when we need them the most, rather than making us feel like we're doing something wrong.
Yeah, thank you so much helpful pieces in there. Thank you. Karen, I see your face, Karen, so I'm going to go to you.
It builds on that, which is, I think that the guilt, when it becomes immobilizing, is measuring yourself against something, some ideal or some image of perfection, or something that somebody else has told you should be, or somebody else's child who isn't anything like your child. So for children, the most important thing we want them to know is how to make mistakes, to have a growth mindset and say, effort, I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to look at what went well and what didn't go well. And I'm going to steer my course my way based on who I am and what I value. So for moms or dads and parents and grandparents, I think of it as parenting improv. This idea of how do you roll? You don't know what your child's going to do next. The book says, if I do this, my child will do this, this, this. Well, that never happens. So how do you be collaborative with your child and have that dance, trusting your child to be a participant, trusting yourself to be able to manage whatever chaos, craziness is coming at you? Because even in a non-COVID state, we always say, parenting is always playing catch up to child development. Your children are growing and changing out from under you every day. So you're always going to be like, what? That worked yesterday, but it doesn't work today. So the guilt, the mistakes, embrace them, because what could be better? Raising children for 2040, 2050, that we're going to raise children who are flexible, adaptable, resilient, and know how to manage themselves and failures, shortcomings. And of course, that big word that we've talked about so much with Rachel is shame. You know, how do we manage that judgment and say, okay, you know, I like who I am and I don't have to be perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Lewis.
Yeah, this fits along the lines of both of those as well. And just reminding yourself that you are human. And in a lot of areas of our life, there are ways in which we try to be superhuman in a way. Superhuman would mean not making mistakes, really doing everything perfectly. And that's just not reality. So by giving yourself that label, again, which is a true label, it's not a lie, I am human, it reminds you that you are able to make certain mistakes, and that you will be able to bounce back as well. Similar to that, just really understanding that you're not alone in this at all. There are so many moms that are experiencing the same things that you're experiencing right now. And that's not to say that your experience is any less important or any less valuable, but I think there's so much value in really acknowledging that shared experience, and acknowledging that there have been moms that have made it through before, similar to what I was saying earlier. We've made it through, and we can make it through again. So really using that that growth mindset, that human mindset, and that just continuing forward, that resiliency mindset in everything that you do.
Just to build on that, Dr. Lewis, my next question is related to how moms, parents can grow and teach their kids to grow from difficult experiences. So like, how can a parent actually translate that into an opportunity for their child to learn and grow?
Yeah, so really showing them how to be flexible in these circumstances, how to come up with different solutions, how to adapt. So things have changed drastically. What can we still do to, one, have fun? What can we still do to learn? What can we still do to make our lives as normal as possible with how they were before? So when you're showing your child that there's a solution to almost anything that comes our way, that then puts them in that mindset for in the future when something comes their way, rather than withdrawing or feeling like they can't handle it at all. They now have that knowledge, like, no, my mom showed me that when something goes awry, I can find a way. So just showing them, if you have to be a little bit creative, if they're maybe upset that there's something that they can't do, showing them, okay, I definitely understand why you're upset. I would be really upset too if that happened to me. Let's see if there's another way that we can do this that would still help you to feel good. So really validating their feelings, but also showing them that there is some other possible way to accomplish the same type of goal.
Yeah, wow, powerful. What about you, Rachel? What are your thoughts? How are you navigating that?
I mean, I'm definitely not sitting on my couch stress eating Oreos in my favorite yoga pants at all. That sounds horrible. I am very honest with my children. And, for me, there's a very specific part of this that is incredible for me time-wise. My first child is from my first marriage. So I co-parent with somebody else, even though I'm married to my second and final husband. I feel like I have the gift of time with my older one because I work from home and her dad works from an office. She's here every day. And normally that wouldn't happen because she would be in school. And so I keep telling her, we have to look for the positives. This is such a scary time for all of us. And there's so many unknowns, but there's also so much good. I am getting so much time with my kids. And I mean, I do rage text my husband at like 5 o'clock every day, twitching like when he's going to be home because I need to tap out because I am human. I'm saying it, I am human. But it's not lost on me that we are getting such crucial time with our kids, no matter how crazy they may make us, that most people never get in their lives. And especially for me, when I have 50% custody of one child, but I get to see her now every day, even though she loves rolling her eyes at me because she's in that tween area and tells me I'm wrong every second. It is something that I keep telling my kids. We get that time. They get time as sisters that normally they wouldn't get every day because they're growing up 50% of the time in different homes. And so there's all these things to be grateful for. And I'm trying so hard, even though it's not in my nature, because I am not the eternal optimist at all. So I'm trying really hard to flip the script on myself and show my kids that we need to focus on those small victories that we are so grateful to have in this time, because it's something that for the rest of my life, I will know that however long this lasts, I got that extra time with my kids together, with them bonding together. And it's a pretty incredible thing in all this darkness for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Karen.
That's so beautiful. And it's true. I think children really are getting something valuable from this. For me, the tagline from the podcast, see me, hear me, love me, I think is that secret. If we meet children exactly where they are, imperfect, irrational, contradictory, developmentally wherever they are, then they know that wherever they're starting from is safe. And we know from brain research that all learning requires children to feel emotionally safe. So if I meet children where they are, and then I am on the same side as them, this whole new phrase, and I think I just posted it on Facebook today, which was co-regulate, 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 self-regulate. We want children to be autonomous, independent, good problem solvers, resilient and thinking. But what I have to do first is meet you exactly where you are so that you don't feel as a child that falling apart at 2 or throwing things from the top of the sofa or hanging from a kitchen countertop is unusual. I will meet you where you are and validate that. Like, okay. Then I can then be your partner, making choices and moving forward, and share your mistakes, hold you accountable for them, teach you right from wrong, but you have a safety net in me, and then you can make mistakes and you can learn and you can grow and you can be fearless but respectful of the challenges that life will give you.
Absolutely. We only have a few more minutes in conclusion, and I just wanted to ask each of you if there was any sort of last lingering piece or nugget of gold that you could share with everybody, anything that you've heard along the past 5 months or that has been helpful or valuable that you would leave the viewers with in going forward. And I'll start with whoever wants to go first. Go Dr. Lewis. Okay.
Sure. So basically everyone's life is different. Everyone's path is different. Everyone's experience through this pandemic is different, though there's some commonalities for sure, like we spoke about earlier. But I think even with having a discussion like this, there are going to be things that really resonate with you and that might work really well for your life. And maybe things that don't work as well. So really just finding what it is that works well for you and that gets you, again, to feel your most resilient in this journey, and letting that be your solution for your life. If something works for someone else, if there's something that we talked about here today that we said would work really well and it doesn't work for you, that's okay. Let that one go and try something different.
So valuable, so true. Thank you. That's great. What about Karen, Rachel?
I'll jump in because we'll let Rachel lead us with something.
Okay. Yeah.
No pressure, Rachel. So for me, I think of Family Time and B'nai Torah congregation. I think what we've wanted to do through all of this is find ways to stay connected. And so whether it's from our side or from an individual family side, don't stay alone. Don't stay, as Rachel says, in things that feel like they're that making you feel worse. We are all in this together. We can help each other. We can be there for each other, and we can co-create strategies and new kinds of community. So, and one size isn't going to fit all. I mean, I know going forward into the fall, people have 1,000 different needs and comfort levels and everything. So allow us and reach out to us and let us reach out to you to say, none of us want to do this by ourselves. None of us.
Absolutely. So true. All right, Rachel, take it away.
One of my favorite pieces of motherhood advice that I talk about a lot, and I think is so relevant here, is that because there's so much information, you don't have to do all the things. You don't have to be that Pinterest mom. You don't have to have a schedule for every day. You don't have to have an outing planned. You don't have to sign your kids up for every single virtual activity because you think they're going to flail when school eventually starts. We are under so much pressure, and you don't have to do all those things. If you want to, great. There's no judgment there either. But I think that all of us are being bombarded with, try this fitness class and do this. And everything, we're being hit with at all cylinders with all these things to occupy ourselves and our children, which is incredible because all the resources are available, but you don't have to do everything. And we also have to be kind with ourselves. Like, I know that I talked about being more lax for myself as a parent. I don't know if you guys can hear it. There's basically a Snoop Dogg concert going out in my living room right now. I can feel the bass reverberating through my walls. And I normally would be like finding something to text my mother and be like, what is wrong with you? Can you look? But I don't even care. I don't care. I'm like bopping to it myself, going, all right, my kids are happy. Everyone's healthy. I mean, I don't know what everyone's going to eat for lunch today, and it probably has already happened that they've ruined their lunch, but you have to have grace with yourself, and you have to be kind to yourself, and realize that no matter how many mistakes you make in any given day, no matter how many Snoop Dogg concerts you sit through in your living room, Tomorrow's a new day, so you get to start over. Every single day you get to start over. Focus on today. Keep your kids fed, keep them happy. They're alive and thriving. You are killing it as a mother, and that is all you need to do. Nothing else matters right now.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you guys all for coming together. I really, really appreciate it. I really, really did. Thank you.
Well, I think we missed out a little bit on your perspective, Casey. I think you get to wrap this with a message of your own.
Okay. You know what I'll do? I'll share, going back to that, one of the questions I asked about a mantra or a quote, I'll share one of my favorites. And that's a quote by Jodi Picoult. And she says, the very fact that you worry about being a good mom means that you already are one. And I think sometimes I work a lot with patients with anxiety. Sometimes we can get lost in the anxiety, and a lot of anxiety is driven by just a genuine inherent care, right? So sometimes worrying about the quality of your parenting or the quality of being a mom really means that you already are being a good mom, right? So I sort of leave it with that in summary.
Well, I really am proud to be a part of this with you guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for having me too.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.